Yes, people, welcome back to 1894 for a brand new video. I'm Hugh and I've got Joe here with me. And we thought with all the news surrounding Raheem Sterling, we wanted to come on and have a little bit of conversation between myself and Joe and give our thoughts. So let's get right into it. Right, Joe, our boy Raheem Sterling is unhappy at Manchester City after 3 or 4 good years at the club. It was a tough season for him. Obviously, he spent quite a bit of time on the bench. He got overtaken by an absolute superstar who had an unbelievable breakthrough season in Phil Foden, who really put his name up in lights this season. He went from a boy that was just an up-and-coming prospect that some people thought he should have gone out on loan and Pep's not managed him correctly, but he really took the reins this season on that left wing, and he was undroppable for most of the season, Phil Foden, and rightly so. Sterling, who is a quality player, and he's shown it over the years, is upset with the amount of game time he has received. Now, in recent weeks, we've seen reports that if Sterling, that Sterling is open to the idea of a move if the right move came along, and obviously the right wages were offered, etc., etc. But he is not satisfied with the idea of being used as a make weight, or being used in a swap deal as basically leverage to get someone like Kane or Grealish or another big name in. He obviously believes that he's much bigger than that and much better than that, and that's subjective. That's for whatever anyone else wants to think. What do you think on the whole thing? Obviously, Raheem Sterling, like I said, has had a tough season. How do you feel about the idea of him leaving?
It's probably the toughest season he's had under Guardiola to date. I think it's possibly even worse than the first season. I think he's justified in being unhappy with his game time. Of course he is. Every single player wants to play week in, week out. A lot of them, that's what they dream of, playing week in, week out for a top European club or big money. But he has fallen down the pecking order because the players who play in his position are performing better than him. That's just the cold hard truth. And when he's been given a chance, he hasn't really taken it. Right now, he's on international duty with England at the Euros. He's one of the first names on the team sheet under Gareth Southgate. He scored the winner against Croatia in the group stage. Less said about the Scotland game, the better, really. It was just a poor day all around, but we're not here to discuss England. So, you would have thought that him being a confidence player, he may come back. If he starts all them Euros games and does well for England, he might come back and might, bounce back the next season. But that's just, we have to wait and see. We don't know for sure. We thought that he might bounce back after gaining a bit of confidence, because he towards the end of the season, around the Carabao Cup final, he played in that. Obviously, Champions League final, he did end up playing in that. We thought that he might get a bit of confidence, and he did score a few goals here and there, but he never really carried it on, which is disappointing, because I think we all like him. We all love him for what he's done, but for whatever reason, it just didn't work out last season. And, I think he's only got 2 years left on his contract. So I think a decision has to be made.
Yeah, there was obviously towards the last kind of few months of the season talk or rumours that City were looking to extend his contract, and then the rumours came out that he's a bit unhappy and he wants to leave, and there was rumours that Pep's fine with him leaving. I think it's a really tricky one. He's obviously a really high profile player. You said it yourself. We do love him. He's given a lot to this club. He's scored some fantastic goals. He's won multiple Premier Leagues. And I think he's a top player, but I hate to say it, I don't think he ever, or still, maybe he still can, but to this date, I don't think he's hit the heights that he was expected to hit. I think when we got him from Liverpool, he did struggle at the very start, then he hit unbelievable form the Centurion season. The season after that, he was absolutely fantastic, and he was on an upwards trajectory. But I don't think he quite hit the ceiling that he wanted to. And I'm going to ask you the same question, which I'm actually going to answer myself first, which is, where do you think it all went wrong? My answer is, I think the system which we switched to this season. I know you have thought opinions on this as well, which is the false nine system. I think the false nine system did not suit Sterling at all. He's a player that's very forward running, even though we didn't see it a lot when he did get on the ball this season. But the best we've seen of Sterling is he's very aggressive, likes to run at fullbacks and try to get shots off. And then we moved to the false nine system when we didn't have the striker, when Aguero wasn't available, and we were basically forced to play with a false nine. It was more of a passing game, more build-up football, less over-the-top ball, less direct running. That's where I think it went wrong. And maybe with the introduction of someone like Harry Kane or an out-and-out striker this summer, it could help revitalise Raheem Sterling. It could help bring the best out in him, because it offers us a different system, a different formation, a different setup. But what do you think of that, Joe? Where do you think it went wrong for him?
I agree with you. I think we've discussed this off camera before, that the system this year that we played just didn't suit him at all. We see at Liverpool when they play the false nine, because they play Firmino up front, they're two wingers, although Mane did have a down season himself. They're goal scorers. They go and they will get you goals. They will guarantee you 50 goals a season between the two of them, because that's just the type of player they are, you know. With Sterling, he's not a natural finisher. We know that. When he's in front of goal, you can't really, especially the season just gone, you can't back him to score most of the time. So without a striker there, the wingers and the midfielders had immense pressure to score the goals because we weren't getting them from anywhere else. So again, system wasn't suited. But, you know, if that's the system we're going to use going forward, especially maybe for another season, if we don't sign a striker, then he will have to adapt because there's no other way.
I think his finishing, just to be black and white about it, to be blunt, his finishing was a real issue. In definitely the last 12 to 18 months for Sterling. It got to the point where if Sterling was 1-on-1 through in goal, we're all kind of sitting there going, "This is the wrong man. In this position. This is not the man we want through on goal here." And he got overtaken by the likes of Foden. Because that when they were in that position, you were going, yes, this is going to be a goal, or there's a very good chance it's going to be a goal, and that's such a crucial part when you're trying to win trophies. You know, you need players who are going to finish off those crucial chances, and maybe a striker or a striker should anyway fix quite a bit of that problem. But it's tough for Sterling, you know, because he is such a top quality player, and there is, I still think, a great future for him. I think I'm not going to give you my answer on whether I want to see him go, whether I want to see him stay, because I'm unsure. I'm completely sitting on the fence. I do realise that there still is a lot to be got from Sterling if you can get him into the right mind frame and get him full of confidence and playing that aggressive, fast-paced way we loved and saw for 2 or 3 years. I don't know. What do you think, Joe? Do you want him to stay?
Ideally, I want him to stay because when he's on form, he's one of the best wingers in Europe. You saw the numbers that he's put up, you know, a few seasons ago. They were up there for the best in Europe. So I really do want it to work out. But you have to ask the question now, with the 2 years on his contract left and, you know, players just playing their way in front of him, is it time to possibly cash in? Because his value, if anything, you know, if he continues this form, if anything, it's only going to get lower. So you've got to think of it from a business side as well. You know, I'd love it to work out, but at the end of the day, the club have got to factor these things, you know, into it. They've got to factor, you know, if they decide to keep hold of him and he doesn't do well, are you going to offer him a new contract? Are you going to sell him? If you sell him, he's only got 12 months if you give him the season. So they have to, you know, decide on something. We know Guardiola likes Sterling, but that shouldn't be enough to keep him at the club just because the manager favours him.
I think another question to throw into the mix here is who can afford Raheem Sterling? I know you said he's got 2 years left on his contract. If you give it another season, he's got 12 months left, and he's not really worth anything, is he? But I think from a financial perspective, City have never really operated on that basis, whereby we need to cash in on a player now because we're going to lose and we want to get the most for him. I think City do work off the basis of trying to get the best out of a player on the pitch. But then again, if you were to try and cash in on him this summer, who can afford to pay, what would we say, 70, 80 million for him? And then, of course, he's on really, really high wages at City. If I'm not mistaken, he's on around 350 grand a week, maybe slightly more, slightly less, in around that margin. I don't know if he's going to be willing to drop his wages to go somewhere else and get more game time. So it's kind of a predicament for him as well as it is for the club. What do you make of that?
Yeah, that is another conversation. You know, we said this about a few players who were rumoured to leave. You know, who can afford them? There's been a lot of rumours of a lot of swap deals going on, especially from players linked to Barcelona. There's a lot of rumours with, you know, swapping players there because neither club can really afford to pay the money, to pay the premium for these, you know, top players. So in reality, I think we will see him stay because, again, no one can pay the money, and I think everybody wants it to work out, and he will be given another chance, but he has to take it. He really does, because, you know, another poor season and he could find himself third, maybe even fourth choice on the wing, which is not something that he wants, and, you know, he might force his way out after that if he's not getting the game time he wants.
Especially with the potential for someone like Jack Grealish to come in. Of course, Ferran Torres will be hoping to get more game time next season. His name is not getting thrown around a huge amount because of the players we're linked with, the players linked with leaving. Of course, Phil Foden had an unbelievable season just gone, and I'm sure he'll be looking to kick on even further. It's going to be tough for Sterling. I mean, he's not the main man, whereas there was a 2-year period in his City career where he was one of the first names of the team sheet, and rightly so. It's just about how he deals with being in the position now where he's not. So I think you're right. I think he'll be given more time, and I'm glad he's going to be given more time because if it works out, and let's say we do have a Kane, and you've got a Sterling and a Foden, and all these English players, and it could be a bit of chemistry for our FIFA fans out there, Green Links. I don't know. I think there's still a lot to be got from him, but like you said, it is a tricky one because if it doesn't work out and you do want to get rid of him next summer, or he wants to be gone next summer, we're not going to get much money for him. But then again, do City care? I don't know. I really don't. Yeah, that's something you have to ask in the boardroom. Um, because he's a very high profile player, and there will be a lot of money surrounding a move for him anywhere, regardless of how much is left on his contract at City. Wherever he goes, someone's going to have to pay him top dollar before he signs a contract. And I think this summer, if he really wants to go, even though he said he doesn't want to be a make weight or used as leverage in a swap deal, I think that's the only realistic way he does go this summer is in a swap deal because he's just won the Premier League. He's just been in a Champions League final. He's won multiple Premier Leagues. He's an expensive asset, regardless of how he's played recently. He's an expensive asset. So if someone does want to come in and buy him this summer, it's going to be quite expensive for the average club. Obviously, for City to spend 60 to 80 to 90 million, it's a lot of money, but City can do it. They've done it multiple times. But for your average club that doesn't do that often, that's a lot of money, and they'd be hoping for a good return on him as well on the pitch. So it's a real tough one for both club and player. But I suppose all we can do is cross our fingers that he does come good and he does play well, and we've got great competition in squad depth because that's what got us our success last season. That's what's won us the Premier League, got us to a Champions League final, is squad depth. Everyone in their positions playing well and great competition. So let us know your comments down below as well. Let us know, do you want to see Sterling go? Do you want to see him stay? What do you expect from him? Where do you think it all went wrong, and how do you think it can all go better? Leave a like on the video as well if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new. We're so close to 300 now. We'd really appreciate the support, and we'll see you very soon. Peace.